Hello everybody in the chess world. Today I'm going to talk to you about the material imbalance, which is to me both a really important subject and a pretty neglected one. I mean, I haven't really seen any videos on YouTube on the subject, and yeah, in some books maybe, but yes, it's weird. I don't remember even seeing a book particularly about that subject. And well, I think it's really important. I think that learning about it won't only, prepare you for when it happens, maybe in a tournament game or whatever, but it will actually, foster your way into actually provoking it yourself, if you feel confident to use it yourself. And then the thing is, my experience, 90% of chess players like tactics, and well, material imbalance positions are full of tactics. So I don't know. I'll show you 3 examples of games that I've played. And well, the first example will be one in which, well, when material imbalance position arrives, I'd be winning. It'll be a favorable material imbalance. But the last 2 are more instructive because I was absolutely lost. Material imbalance and lost. And yet, like I could use the material imbalance to, get the situation more chaotic. My opponents were always winning, but never 100% in control. So, it's kind of, I think that's really interesting. So, and also it kind of became like a psychological booster, after like blundering and being totally lost and feeling like going home. This created really beautiful position. You'll see that. And okay, before showing you the games, I'll mention you patterns on the 3 games, so you can be kind of attentive to that. So, the first 2 are the most obvious, like coordinate your pieces. And well, you'll see in cases where we're like, in both cases where I was kind of lost, I was facing, some minor pieces against a queen. So it was good not only to have my pieces coordinated, but kind of protecting themselves, kind of being solid at the same time. And well, last, you'll see in all 3 games, there were real problems with my opponent's king. Like there was an attack on the king that allowed me to do like magical stuff. So okay, let us begin by the first example, which is one where, as I said, I'll be winning. So here I played e5, which I think it's a winning move. I mean, I'm hitting on e6, I'm opening up the positions. I have both bishops and the queen against a pretty opened up black king, because opened up in the sense that the pawns around him have already moved the g and h6 pawns, so there are holes all over. And it's funny because my opponent actually played, I think according to the computer, the best defense here. I mean, first he took, which is quite obvious, c takes d5. But here, because here he played rook e8, I think I was expecting 97, where, well, here I had like a really happy choice between 2 moves. I mean, one is simply queen d4, threatening these 2 mates. I will force f6, and yeah, I've talked about this, this pawn shield around black's king being a little bit overpushed. Well, this looks awful, but there was also like queen h4, just aiming to attack this h6 pawn, because I don't know if there is this knight f5, and well, the knight protects h6, and black is trying to exchange queens, but I will even have queen h3, just hitting on f5, which is also the defender of h6, and let us say bishop c8, exchanging, and here, here I gave one of the bishops, but this should be totally winning as well. So apparently this rook e8 was a better move, and well, you'll see here that I am going to get a, positive material imbalance, because yeah, I'll take 2 minor pieces and a rook, and I'll give just a queen and a pawn. So pawn takes knight, rook takes queen, pawn takes bishop, hitting both rooks. So logical, instead of moving the b8 rook and leave my b7 pawn there, well, just, well, I guess that's possible, because then maybe there will be, well, no, not even, because bishop takes e4 will protect the b pawn. So yeah, more logical, rook e8, correct. So after I play this wall, he takes that dangerous pawn. So okay, here I'm winning. I did not play the best move. The best move apparently was rook fd1, just already going, like, okay, just trying to go with everything. But my move, rook fe1, I think is still maintains a winning position. And it is quite logical, right? We have a material advantage, so, and we're winning, so we're trying to, make exchanges happen. So, it'll be easier. So b5, well, rook takes, and b5, which is correct. And here, this is the first moment where I'll take for you to ask you to, pause the video and think. Before doing that, I'll tell you what was in my mind, like the first seconds where I was looking at this position. So I thought, okay, I have my, my pieces are coordinated, they're active, they're attacking, but mostly black's king is super weak still, even without my queen. Both bishops looking there, and the background, well, he has his queen there, but it looks really weak. So my real intention, what I really wanted to play actually was knight e5, because I was looking at, well, then I could go knight g4, I'll be on h6 and on f6, this will be kind of over. But yeah, so queen d5, and I thought, okay, queen d5 will be threatening bishop takes knight, followed by queen takes bishop on d3, And yes, I marked with the arrows there. I thought, well, in that case, I'd probably have either bishop b1 or bishop f1, but I wasn't convinced. So yeah, again, let us go back and now pause the video and think. So I did play knight e5 because, well, I think he's just lost here, and queen d5 is not a good move, but logically he played it, so sort of same thing as myself. And yeah, you had to see the knight g4, which is what I played, was enough, because yeah, black's king is in an awful situation, and we actually had a winning attack without needing the light square bishop, so we give it up. And well, he took it, just it's the only thing to do. But rook checks, you have to block it with the bishop, because yeah, king h7, there is knight f6, so it's useless. And after check and knight g7 and knight d7 check, he resigned here. Well, yeah, of course, this is like plus 15, but one curious detail is that it wasn't so easy for me to calculate. I remember here when I was calculating this line that had happened on the game, looking at 95, when I got to that position, I kept looking, kept calculating as, okay, f6, I'll take it. King f7, what, nothing else makes sense, but I'll take it, and king e6. And I actually took like 1 or 2 minutes, in calculation to see this double check, which is the only winning move, I mean, quite an obvious one, but I wasn't seeing it at first, and I was like, looking at this position, from afar, and thinking I shouldn't even be calculating this. This has to be intuitively winning. But then I thought, well, he's threatening mate with the queen because of my back rank. His king is kind of getting away, Luckily, at the end, I was like, no, okay, knight c5, and it's fine. So, okay, now let us go to what I will consider better examples, because I'll see positions in which I was actually totally lost. So I think this will be much more instructive for all of you. So for this one, I'll actually show you the opening, because there are a few details that I'd like to show you. So I was white, and we played, well, my opponent played knight c6, as usually, no names, as my opponent might not want to be mentioned, but okay, we played this bishop g4. This is like a queen's gambit. Well, decline, this will be the Chigorin defense. That's the name of this line. So there are a lot of lines here. Even here, I think g takes f3 is one main line. I play this particular line. Knight c3. So here, my opponent played the most logical move, and we went into the main line, which was e6, e4, we take the center, bishop b4, hitting, threatening here on e4 because the knight is pinned, f3. Now, before continuing with this game, I'd like to show you all a little detail, because I might be able, if you like this opening for white, to spare you from one big, well, big accident, I should call it, that happened to me in a way. So there was this one game in which, in this position, instead of what my opponent played in this game, logical e6, one of my opponents in a tournament played knight f6. And she played it like immediately. So I remember looking at the position and thinking, okay, well, she's preventing e4, but technically I could go like, f3, and now with e6, I'll play e4 and we'll transpose. And I mean, is there a way to prevent e4 for white? I don't think so. Still, from this position, I suspected something. I was like, maybe she prepared. Like, is there a difference with this knight f6, or will we just transpose? And I remember thinking, well, this knight is looking, well, at these light squares that I don't think they're too important now. I'm not sure, like, I took a few minutes, but in the end I was like, all right, I'll play a3. I don't see anything. I'll just play a3 and e4. And she immediately blitzed out e5. And as soon as I saw that move, I was like, oh, of course, that's the idea. If d takes e5, knight f d7. And I was like, no, this position is awful. I mean, if I allow knight takes e5, I mean, in this position, she already has all the dark squares, they're all for black. And if I allow knight takes e5, she'll be even much better than me with black, like, out of the opening. And, I mean, if I have to protect it by either f4 or bishop f4, I mean, those are awful moves to make, in like development-wise. So I was like, no. And I don't even remember what I played, but I remember that I lost in 21 moves. So, and even if, okay, then she played perfectly and I made more mistakes, I mean, the opening had a lot to do. It was a great preparation. So, just to spare you from that, going back, if they play knight f6, do not play f3, because e5 is a really strong move. I know that there is theory and some players have tried that with white, but I really do not recommend it. I recommend more the main move, which is bishop g5. And, well, here I think there are a lot of moves, like knight d5 is a move for black, and queen d6 I think makes more sense, right? Because, well, they're ready to not having to double pawns on f6 in case of bishop takes, and to play long castles, maybe put pressure on the deep pawn. So, yeah. Okay, let us go back to the subject of the video, but I mean, that was a terrible loss for me. So, in the game, we went to this main line, in which I think I've even played a lot of dubious moves. Like, I think bishop c4 is already not quite good, and I think there are lines where white actually has to play long castles. I mean, I was playing a weak opening, and black was getting a good position, but it was even worse at that. But because here first I already made like this is now like clearly a dubious move. a3 is a bad move. And after bishop c5, now I made a double question mark move, because here I had to, well, I think computer recommended either queen f2, which, well, it didn't seem like too logical, but I think, or even g3, just, solidifying f4 once and for all. But I played instead b4, double question mark, and my opponent just bleeds out knight f4. And here I look at the position, and I felt like, well, I was like, okay, I lost my queen. I already lost my queen. Amazing. Yes, because I cannot play the logical, let us say, I don't know, queen d2 or queen f2, but let us say, yeah, queen f2, because black will just take it and play queen g5. And now it's either the checkmate or the queen. You have to give something. There is checkmate here. And, well, there is no defense. I mean, if there is also this check here, followed by queen takes queen, and if I try to get away from both threats at the same time, well, I just cannot. Queen f2 is check again, and queen d2 is, yeah, the exact same thing, check followed by queen takes. So going back to this position, I realized that I was 100% lost, and yeah, I just took the only way not to having to shake hands already, which was bishop takes e5, which is what I played, knight takes e2, check, knight takes e2, queen g5, bishop takes f8, my opponent recaptured with the king. So yeah, I mean, okay, this is not my happiest moment, right? Because I've given up my queen for a rook and a minor piece, and I am absolutely lost. However, okay, I immediately play f4. Didn't even know if it's the best move, but of course I won. I know what in material imbalance position we have to activate the pieces, as I said, and well, you'll see again that this king takes on f8. I don't know if it was objectively bad, but it gave me some hope because, well, after pawn takes and knight takes, correct moves that happen on the game, well, at least I'm flirting a little bit with knight e6 check, maybe someday, I don't know, it's something. But queen e5 is correct move, as it is rook ac1. And okay, here my opponent, this is the moment where he'll start helping me. Because first of all, he gives this check, which is dubious move. I mean, well, already from the point of view that is he's, giving away this prophylaxis, in a free way for me that I wanted to do anyway. I think maybe he had the idea, maybe because I'm thinking, why did he give this check? So maybe he was thinking about continuing with rook e8 here, and I don't know, kind of at the last second, maybe he was like, okay, maybe not. I don't know, he regretted that and thought it wasn't good. I'm not sure. But he then followed it up with queen takes e4, which is now a much more serious mistake. So, yeah, these are really bad moves. Obviously, knight e6 check. And, well, he's not lost at all. He just took, and after pawn takes, played f6. This is the only defense. And I went rook fe1, which, well, this is already quite dangerous. I'm kind of trying to go e7 check after this move, and this was the last moment for him to be careful, because here he makes the last and decisive mistakes. And remember, I was lost just a few moves ago, but now I'll be winning, because the only defense was queen h4. It was very important to keep this e1 rook attacked. So this other rook will have the responsibility of protecting it, and also you will be taking it with mate. So this c1 rook wouldn't be free to move. But he played queen f4. And now like attacking the wrong rook in a way. So after e7 check and king e8, well, he just missed my threat. I mean, obviously he just missed the threat. So, okay. You can, in this moment, white to play and win, Pausethevideoandthink. Well, yeah, he saw the check. What he didn't see is that after c6, I just have this. And again, this rook is now, well, not attacked. In the other line, the queen was on h4 and did not allow this. It was very important. I think the position with queen h4 was roughly equal. But now I'm absolutely winning because, yeah, he cannot take this because look how simple. It will be check. And now I just take this. I'm threatening to make a queen. His queen cannot prevent it. Well, queen b8 there is, but I will just exchange everything and win the bishop against nothing ending. And if king e8, well, just check and then making a queen. So yeah, going back to this position, he played king f7 and I went here. And well, look, it's even really funny because, okay, I guess he was just sad that he had missed that and he was lost. So he didn't even play rook e8, which is, I think I was expecting that, although yeah, that loses really easily as well, because yeah, actually I could even take it and then I'll give a check from c8 or d8. Yeah, it's off, it's over. But okay, the funny thing is he played queen f2, and before I had seen already that, well, I even have a mating net. I mean, to me it was curious seeing this from after rook takes c6. I was like, well, even if he goes away with the queen, there is this funny mate. And again, it was like nothing that I had calculated really from the beginning, but it was just there because here, yeah, even bishop g6 is like the last nail in the coffin. Because if I had played, I don't know, more logical bishop g5, well, bishop h5, well, of course I'm totally winning, but g6, giving the g7 square for the king and attacking the bishop, it was something. But this is awful because there's nothing for him to prevent this check followed by this mate. Well, except for giving up the queen for the rook. So, well, incredibly, as you saw, I was absolutely lost and, well, playing active. And yeah, okay, a little help from my opponent and his weak king. But the last example is the most beautiful, and it came kind of from an accident. So, excuse me. So, I'm gonna go to the important position. So it's funny. Well, there was like, yeah, here. So here, this was the last tournament of the last round of a tournament that, well, wasn't very important, was kind of casual. So I was doing kind of like half of the points, nothing important in this round. So I think we were both kind of blitzing out the moves, not caring too much about the game. So I was white here, and my opponent played Bishop f6, and I remember thinking like, well, what a cheapo, right? I mean, the only idea of such a move will be to protect this rook, so he will be threatening knight takes e5 because it'll hit my queen, right? I was like, well, that's a cheapo, you know. But I remember as well that at some point I was like, okay, I stopped to think a little bit here. I was like, okay, we've been blitzing out moves, like not caring. Maybe will be now the right time to try to come up with a plan, you know, just trying to play something. So first I was looking at queen d6, which will, well, already forget about the knight takes e5 threat, and maybe it'll be a good move, I don't know. But I started thinking, and at some point I completely forgot his threat. So in the end, I ended up playing this ridiculous knight c4, and again, like let the piece go, I pressed the clock, I went back, and I was like, oh yeah, knight c5 wasn't that a threat, you know? And of course he blitzed it out. So my first feeling was like, okay, I don't even want to play, I just lost a pawn. Well, I'm gonna lose an exchange apparently as well, because the only square for my queen will be e1, and then you'll have this double right here and right here. So I was like, well, if I'm gonna be an exchange and a pawn down and I don't even want to play, I should resign. But at some point, instead of moaning, I actually started looking at the position, and I realized that there were amazing lines, and really, this is really what I wanted to show you. This is because there's gonna be a really funny, a really aggressive, tactical sequence here before, going to a stable material imbalance position in which I'll try to, show you things about it. So look at this, because this is really great. So I play queen e1, like only move. So he played the logical knight cd3 again. He just won a pawn. He's threatening. Apparently, he's going to win an exchange. So there was an alternative, but we'll come back to that later. Bishop b6. This is what I had seen in calculation, and I was thinking, okay, this is quite cool because, well, here he played the only move that I consider, queen e7. There was also an alternative, but we'll come back to that later. Bishop takes e8, and the only move that I had calculated as well, queen c5 check. He saves his queen and will take mine. But I thought that not only I was not going to lose material, I thought that I will even win material. And you'll see what I mean, because I play king h1, knight takes queen. Okay, bishop takes f6, of course, one of the lines that I had calculated. Well, I can take a minor piece and be threatening mate, so winning a tempo. I had seen his answer that he played bishop e6. He develops a piece, he prevents mate, because now the rook is cutting that, and he's hitting my minor piece here, so he's thinking I will win material. And I said, no, I had already seen knight a3, and now this knight that was on c4 has just escaped any attack, and this knight is trapped. So I even thought that I will win material. The move that I had not seen that he played was knight ec2. That's clever. I was like, yeah, that's pretty clever. Okay, yeah. In order to take this minor piece, he has this bishop b3 taking the exchange. So rook c, bishop takes, rook takes e1. Okay, This is the moment where the dust has settled and we have a material imbalance position. In this case, I'll say, well, I was lost before, but this position is roughly equal. Before going here, which is, again, I want to show you all the characteristics of the material imbalance, let us see a few alternatives in this really chaotic line. Because first of all, going back here, instead of the obvious knight c3 that we both saw, I think that the computer move was rook d4. Again, I'm trying to show you some particular things about computer analysis. Sometimes it's really amazing because, okay, first of all, it's like the hardest thing is to play the move even if you see it. Because, you know, if we see rook d4 with black, we might say, okay, it's not so hard to realize that now probably bishop takes d4 is not good for white. You know, he takes d4, every line opens. No, sorry, not this one. Yeah, that one, and the bishop and the pawn will be here. I mean, but still, it's like you look at that and you're like, but, well, what are the pros of rook d4? And yeah, I mean, really hard move to see. But even better, this is to me was amazing. So this is what we played in the game. I said that after bishop b6 there was an alternative to queen e7, which is what we played. Well, the computer gave something that to me was impossible to see. Queen takes bishop check. Interesting move. I was like, what? But I saw that. I mean, I take the queen and the thing isn't, yeah, he takes mine, but I'm on the, well, after this, I'm like this. Knight takes, I'm on the rook on a8. But the computer just says knight ec2, kind of equal. Maybe the computer even prefers black slightly. And to me, this was amazing because after looking at the position for a while, I was like, okay, he's kind of right? You know, I am an exchange up, but he has a lot of compensations for that. You know, he has the pawn. My knight on a8 isn't attacked, but he is trapped. There's no way to escape. And there is this beautiful d4 square for the knight with this other beautiful knight on b4. None of them could be kicked out by pawns. I was like, what an interesting concept by the computer. But okay, finally, let us go back to our subject. So this is the position to which we arrived, and yeah, it was this kind of roughly equal. So this first moment, my opponent made queen b4, and I was so happy when he made that move. You know, I did not expect that move at all because to me it was just concept. You know, he's just exchanging a side, you know, a flank pawn for a central one. I really want that central pawn. So I don't know. I think computers did not dislike this move so much. That was also kind of surprising for me. But well, I guess rook e8 with idea of then queen b4. I don't know. Even if computer says that it's not much better, to me, as a human, in a human analysis, that's much better. But okay, queen b4, bishop takes e5. I think computer was still giving kind of like roughly equal. Like it didn't change evaluation as much. So queen takes b2. As I said, we exchange flank pawn for a central pawn. h3, some air for my king. Again, you can already see in this example that my opponent's king is not comfortable. In fact, the game followed rook e8 and bishop f6. And again, this kind of like in the other game, this bishop is quite annoying for this king. And you know, and this rook, which is the only piece that he has besides the powerful queen, well, this rook is not finding any file, right? I mean, the 8 is control, the other ones are close, so I was kind of happy. I thought dynamics in the positions were cool. And I am threatening to play rook b1 followed by taking on b7. And according to the computer, my opponent played the best move. He did not bother to try and defend that pawn, although it will be difficult to defend, I guess. And he played instead h6, which is correct. Again, his king was kind of, you know, lacking shelter, so he's just wanting to play g5, and then he'll have this path for his king h7, king g6, not having any, you know, nonsense as in the other games with some, background check or mate. So, well, I took the pawn, rook b1, queen c2, and I took it. He played queen c1 check. I think he relied on this check in a way, but I think he was probably just analyzing knight d1. So I played bishop d1, which is a little bit more precise. You can see again, you'll see how my pieces will be coordinated. So he played g5, again, totally correct. You know, now finally his king has an escaping route. Well, here I play rook b1, which is a bad move. I mean, I saw the correct move, rook d7, which I think computers gave me like a big advantage here, but I honestly did not dare playing that move. Instead, I was like, again, following my concept of material imbalance, it was like, okay, after this and bishop e2, I have a total coordination. I am in control. This is what I wanted, my pieces are protecting each other. I was kind of fine. So he played rook e6, but allowed this intermediate move. Again, I'm always getting there in time. He played here, bishop d4, again winning the tempo, queen f4, bishop c4, rook e8, and e5, the move I had calculated from afar. And here, this was the first moment where I thought, well, I think I'm going to win this game. I'm just planning knight e4 and knight f6. This is looking really well. When I saw this if position with e5, a few moments ago, I was like, this looks really good. But okay, my opponent, well, he also got scared of the positions. He also thought that white was looking really well, and he got a little desperate. He played rook takes e5. He was like, okay, I'm going to just eliminate the pair of bishops because my king is suffering anyway. But correct was rook d8, which doesn't allow knight e4 yet because he's threatening c5. And, well, while it's true that I will then have knight e2, probably with still a cool advantage. Well, this was, I think, the best for him. Instead, after rook takes e5, bishop takes, and queen takes e5, well, I played knight e4 anyway, logical, going against his king. And for the first time, now we have a winning position for me. So now it's a matter of technique. And, well, we'll maintain every, like everything I said before that you should do with material imbalance. Well, this will be the same. Again, his king is weak. My pieces are active and getting closer, and it's not hard. But let us see how the game finished, because it was actually quite funny for me. Because played king g7, then rook d7, logical. He went to grab my a pawn. He did. Rook takes f7, king g6. Here, I guess I was just trying to add the 30 seconds increment, so I gave these 2 checks. But of course, I was gonna leave his king here, not in here in g7, but here on g6. And, well, here comes a pretty curious sequence because, okay, first of all, I play knight d6, which is, I've pinpointed everything with arrows, but yeah, I'm threatening bishop d3 check, king h5, g4 check, king h4, knight f5 mate. So my opponent went, no, queen d1. I prevent bishop d3 check, and I'm hitting the knight. So I went knight f5, and now I'm threatening knight e7 check, king h5, g4 check, king h4, and knight back to f5 or g6 mate. So again he went, no, I'm pinning your g-pawn, so yeah, that there won't be any more g4. And I play knight e7 check and king h5, and again, well, there must be like, I don't know, a lot of winning moves here, but I kind of played, accidentally, I played the most sadistic one. I really wasn't trying to, get my opponent's hopes up, but I realized that I would, actually, to be honest, because I played bishop e6, which is quite simple. I'm just threatening bishop g4 check, king h4, and knight g6 mate. But I knew that he will think that I blunder. I was like, oh, this is so terrible. I mean, he was winning, and now he's not only going to lose the game, but he's going to do it with a last hope that he wouldn't, because, yeah, and he did. I looked at his face. He was like, boom, blitz out, queen d6 check. Like, yeah, you blunder finally. I'm taking the bishop and then hitting the rook and the knight. But yeah, after f4, he had to realize that, well, he had to resign. And he did, because, yeah, he realized that he wasn't pinning my g-pawn anymore. So here, after queen takes, I will simply have this check and knight checks, and then, yeah, rook against queen. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Again, in conclusion, this it's funny for me. There was pretty similar examples, right? Always the king running out. But okay, again, coordinate in material imbalance position. Just coordinate, your forces and play active. And as you saw in these examples, your opponents will often show themselves weak in such positions, right? I mean, you can even turn the table sometimes. This is your thing. So. Yeah, I don't know. It's Well, there are another examples, like having, well, the queen, bishop and rook against queen. Sometimes it's a draw, or even a rook and a pawn on the third, some particular position. So you have this also this issue of material imbalance to get to technically drawn endings, so, where you might beat the material down, but it's a draw. Well, this is another kind of example, But again, it's like your opponent is not in control anymore, as you saw in this game and in these games. And the last thing, this is really important that sometimes people tend to forget about this. It's in material imbalance positions, there is bound to be pieces with no counterparts. I'll say it again. In material imbalance positions, there is bound to be pieces with no counterparts. So this is why attention has to be really clear on the board, because there are possibilities that there are never there. Normally, when we have the same material, the forces kind of neutralize each other. We're trying to take this file with a rook. Rook d1. Well, opponent plays rook d8. We're trying to take this diagonal with long diagonal, bishop b2. Well, opponent plays bishop g7. Now it is not the same. So it's kind of more like, think about it like this. How in opposite color bishops with heavy pieces on the board, like if you go into the ending, the thing is, they're much more drawish. But if there are heavy pieces, well, then that will, it will be better for the side attacking. So that this is the thing, and this is the same reason, because the bishops are hitting, in opposite colors. So, well, if you add a queen to that, this is the typical thing. So this is very similar. Again, you saw that there are holes that cannot be fixed simply. This is what happens. So, yeah. So, well, this was a pretty long lesson. But again, this material imbalance is one of my favorite subjects. So I really hope you enjoyed it. So I'll see you on the next video. Video. Not video. Video.